Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another fun-filled Campfire Tales, and I hope you people are ready. Because once again, it's just me and Dave, and there's always tend to get weird, and it's gonna get real weird with what we're talking about tonight. But hey, how you doing, Dave?
Doing good, Eli.
Dave, can I ask you a question?
Sure. But
Is
hey,
it-
my eyes are up here. Okay. Let's
Listen,
keep it classy.
well, hey, when it's just you and me, class goes out the window. Yeah, I mean, let me ask you a question. Let's say it's the 1940s, right?
Hmm.
You're living in the 1940s. You're still marveled by the fact that people can talk somewhere and it shows up on your radio box, right? And let's say you're in the Navy, okay? And they come to you and they go, "Hey, we're working on a stealth system that also might make our sea ship here go faster. Don't worry about it. But we're gonna try it out tomorrow." And you're like, "Oh, okay." So you get up, you're on the deck doing
Doing my semen things.
your semen things, and all of a sudden you notice this green haze all around you. Then all of a sudden the ship flashes. Now you were in Philadelphia. Now you're in Virginia, and then all of a sudden, real quick, it flashes back to Philadelphia. Except for when you look around, like you're feeling real sick. There are people inside out. Some people are fused to the ship. What's your next step?
Well, that doesn't sound great. I'm just going to be honest with you. I
Yeah,
think my next step after the flash that turns other people inside out
that's
is
correct.
to GTFO this ship ASAP.
Do you think after experiencing that, are you going to reenlist to be on that boat?
I'm going to hire the best attorney I can get my hands on and hopefully never work another day of my life.
You
I
know
mean,
what?
I'm happy not to tell anybody what happened as long as Dave gets a little
Yeah,
lubricant.
yeah. You get a little bit of that cheddar.
Exactly.
You know, you don't want to be selfish. You just want enough cheddar to nibble on. That's
Yeah,
all.
I'm not greedy. I'm just saying that my morality is fluid.
Yeah, and really, it's just to protect all parties involved. You know, you don't want it to
Exactly.
get
Yeah.
messy.
Yeah, it's professional courtesy. Let's
Yeah,
call it that.
that makes perfect sense. Makes perfect sense. Well, hey, last week we talked about Event Horizon, which is about interdimensional travel to travel faster, and then they go through a hell dimension. Shit happens. Well, Dave,
As you do.
as you do. What if I told you there's actually some history of that's been going on here in the old world?
Yeah, I get it. I'm loosely familiar, and we talked a little bit about this on our Skinwalker Ranch very early on in this podcast. And then when you did your alien special report, and I'm glad it's the two of us talking about this because this is kind of where we converged on
Shine.
some of this. Is I am totally okay with aliens being a real thing. I, the physics and math does not work that they actually hopped on a ship, even if it's a faster than light ship, and came here from another galaxy. Interdimensionality, though, and I think there's some intriguing stuff there.
Oh, what's going to be real intriguing is when I present some of this information to you, which for years a lot of people poo pooed on, but then all of a sudden here recently, some people are like, "Wait a minute, where have I heard this before?" So we're about to get in the dirty dirty. We're about to. I want you to take off your ball cap, Dave. Put on that aluminum foil.
It's lined.
Perfect, because it's about to get a little conspiracy up in this bitch. I before we start, I just want to do a disclaimer though. If some men in black come knocking on your door, don't blame me.
Hey, that's the reason I don't drink the tap water. It's all Mountain Dew all the time for me.
You know what? It's funny you say I've been on I haven't drank pop in a quite some time. But last week at work, I'll drink some like the sugar free stuff every once in a while, but like I was trying to cut down. But then last week at work, like it was real hot. We were moving much stuff, and someone's like, "Oh, here, drink something. You should stay hydrated." And they hand me Mountain Dew, and I hadn't had a Mountain Dew in years. And I bet you if I had 7 of them some bitches,
You can't just have one.
it's like heroin, man. As soon as it touched my lips, it was like my brain went, "Oh, what is this? Oh, this
And
is."
you wanted to, for some reason, inexplicably, you wanted to hang a gun rack in the back of your truck as soon as
I
you drank
wanted
that
a gun
second
rack, and I was like, I need to get a can of Skull
immediately.
immediately. Immediately, a can of Skull and put a gun rack. I'm like, well, now I need a truck. And I'm like, who won the NASCAR race? That was the weirdest thing. I don't know what they're putting Mountain Dew these days, but
It's good, whatever it is.
I listen, man. I don't care if I start peeing neon yellow or green, whatever the fucking color Mountain Dew is.
It's not a natural color, I'll tell you that much.
It's not. If I, it's weird because, like I said, I haven't even thought about Mountain Dew in so long, and like I'm drinking, I'm like, oh man, like I'm licking my fingers, even though my fingers didn't touch it, and I'm like, and then like I'm kind of looking at the can, like, what the fuck is in this again? And I was like, this is the color of a highlighter. Like, should I be drinking this? Like,
You went full meth, baby. You just started scratching all over.
it was like crazy.
It's so good, Daddy.
I literally
So
had
good.
like one can, and then like I was heading home. Then I'm like, I think I'll stop and give him just another little bottle of Mountain Dew.
What harm could it do?
It's just one bottle. Like I was like, it's the weekend.
I was stop anytime.
I was moving around a lot, and now like
dehydrated.
yeah, I'm like, it's hot out. It's a sweet treat. I haven't eaten really today, like and now like every other day I'm like, yeah, give me one of them Mountain Dews.
Are they open?
Yeah, like is there a gas station nearby? Even Mary, like I got home tonight and like I was like whatever, and she's like, hey, I'm all stopped at the grocery store. Do we need anything? I'm like, no. So I'm like, can you give me a bottle of Mountain Dew? She's like, you would just get you a case? I went, no.
Don't do that.
Let's not start this road. I said, just give me a personal bottle. I said, I need to have an end point because I feel like if she could be a 12-pack, I'm gonna have real problems.
Yeah, if you're still buying from the single rack, you're okay.
Yeah, it's once you start stocking up in your house,
you can start getting 12 packs, a couple of 2 liters.
I mean, I did order my Mountain Dew hat and NASCAR jacket, but that's just
for personal reasons,
All right, wait. Anyways, enough of my new life addiction. But so here's where we're gonna start out, Dave. I'm gonna take you through 3 phases. We're gonna start with the Philadelphia experiment. Have you ever heard of it?
I have. Then this is the full dime tours.
We're going full circle on this. We're gonna start with Philadelphia experiment. Then we're gonna go to the Montauk Project. Are you familiar with that?
I've heard of it. I don't know anything about it.
Oh, you are in for a treat. Then we're gonna go to the Hadron Super Collider.
I've heard from you about what they've been doing over there.
And then our end stop is with current AI models, which is going to circle back to the Philadelphia experiment. I've always had you guys dip your toes, but since it's just you and me, I hope you brought a swimming suit because we're about to get wet.
I'm going to say, let me check my laces and make sure they're good and tight because it sounds like we're going on a big walk.
We're going on a big walk. So, Philadelphia experiment. Now, back in the 1940s, a couple little things going on in the world, right? World War II. The race
just got out of World War One.
Just got out of World War One. The race between the Americans and the Nazis to create atomic weapons. A lot of espionage stuff going on. A lot of craziness. Well, apparently, let's go ahead a little bit. In 1955, there was a guy who worked for the Navy. He received a little book about like UFOs and stuff. But then in all the margins, there was all this like writing that looked like a debates between 3 people about scientific theory, about all this stuff. And then there was some reference to the Philadelphia experiment. God Navy was real confused, according to him. So they ended up tracking down this guy who then proceeded to tell him about, and some of these people are still alive, or some of this is still hot, so I'm not going to say names for these parts. But
protect the innocent, or not so innocent.
I'm more along the line of protecting us. All right, if I'm trying not to get our names on any list. So they talked to this gentleman, and he proceeds to tell them how in October of 1943, he was in the Navy, and he was on a Navy carrier that was stationed near Philadelphia. And he stated that the higher ups came to them and said, "We're working on a system," and it was like they described it as like a magnetic release system, which was kind of already being used. It was basically a way for ships to go over sea mines, and like they, with the magnetization release they would do, it prevent them from like triggering. And they said, we're working on an experimental one, and we're gonna try some stuff. Now, there is some discrepancy about whether or not they presented it like this, or they were kind of said, "Hey, we came out with a faster way to make these ships travel." Because then they were told that with this test that they were going to take a trip to Virginia, to the sea outside of Virginia, and it would take a matter of minutes from Philadelphia to Virginia, which typically in these type of warships would take a couple hours. They were saying minutes. So, October 43, these people are on the ship getting ready for this test, and they claimed that they noticed a green haze, like kind of forming around the ship and inside the ship. Fast forward to Virginia. Some people claimed that all of a sudden a ship appeared in the waters outside of Virginia. It was there for a couple minutes. They have found witnesses who claimed they saw this. And then after a couple minutes, they said it disappeared. Back in Philadelphia, all of a sudden this ship appeared. Everyone on it's fucked up. The people, the least severe of the issues is like some people are like real nauseous. They have migraines. They can't make coherent thoughts. They're kind of stumbling around. Some people are...
Because they got microwaved.
Well, maybe worse, because some people are then claiming that they saw people whose hands were literally, like their hands and limbs were like stuck in floors inside of walls. It was almost like they were a ghost. They went to stick their hand through the wall, and then their hand materialized back up, and like their hands were stuck in there. Some people were basically fused into the metal, which when I was reading it sounds like if you cook a cookie on a baking tray, but you didn't put any butter down to popped up, and it kind of like seems like it's fused into the tray. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the worst, where there were some people who turned inside out.
Yeah, that's not great. It's not great. Can't walk that off.
No, it's not a good look for anybody. Now, then I started thinking, well, what does that mean? Like, it's their skeleton and all of their skins and guts are now inside their skeleton? Or was it just like a meat mess with like bones sticking out? I don't know. But this gentleman who wrote this journal like 10 years later said like Navy hurried up, covered it up. But he thought people should know. He was saying that the military was trying to build on some of Einstein's unified theory, which Einstein was working on to kind of explain like this is when Einstein was starting to get into, well, maybe it's not the speed of light we need to travel. Maybe we almost need to bend light or space to travel through it. And
They
he
shortcut the whole situation.
shortcut the whole thing, and like some other people working with them. This was kind of like when Einstein like realized like what was going on with the atomic bomb. He was like, I don't want involved in this. And he
turning
did the
people
old,
inside out. I'm in.
I'm in. Drop bombs. I'm washing my hands of this. Because which famously Einstein did. Like he kind of came up with the math for it. And then when he realized, like, oh, you fuckers are gonna actually do this. Oh yeah, I'm out.
Yeah. Good luck to you.
Later. So and he said 10 years later, he's like, I think people should know, like, there's something weird going on with the Navy, whatever. So the gentleman he gave this book, he went to a reporter, they published the story. Now, here's where things get a little hinky because some other reporters were like trying to find this guy because they didn't want to talk to him. And so like they're like they're like trying to find him and he's hard to find. And but yet like this one reporter who kind of worked with the Navy, swish, swish, swish. He found their family. They're like, oh, he's just a big liar. He made it all up.
Don't worry about him.
Yeah, don't worry about it. So then this guy went to the Navy, and the Navy's like, that never happened. Yeah, we had a boat in like around Philadelphia, but like none of that stuff happened. And so then that guy was like, see, nothing here. Don't worry about it. Then as years went by, other reporters and people started looking into it, and they're like, well, it seemed like this was an experimental ship. And the Navy's like, well, I mean, we were testing. Sure, we probably were testing that like magnetic release system for like mines and stuff. Don't worry about it. And then some other reporters like, well, did you ever take it to Virginia? They're like, no. They're like, okay, well, just give us the logs and then we can show like, hey, that boat never went there. And then the Navy was like, well, like there's some records from World War II that kind of got destroyed and went missing. So like we don't have those records, but
it seems like the military has a lot of office fires. I'll just put it that way.
It's weird, right? But they're like, you can believe us. Now, here's the thing I want you to remember. So some of these reporters who were like real involved in this at the time in the 50s and like 60s, they then went on to do like tour circuits at MUFON symposiums and like stuff like that. But like a lot of them kept saying like they found like people talking about like military at the time was trying to figure out a way to use gravity as a means of transportation. I want you to remember that. Okay. I want you to remember that. So then like, but by that point, everyone was like, for most people was like, oh, well, the Navy said like this. They said this guy was crazy. Like people just kind of threw the Philadelphia experiment away. Now we're going to fast forward to the 80s. To Montauk, New York.
Okay.
Real rural like area. Rumors start circulating that the military has an installation in Montauk and they're doing some weird experiments. People like there was like people who were like insiders releasing information. Some people who lived in the area like claim they saw stuff. And they're like, they're doing weird stuff. There's claims that they were like doing like a psychic soldier training thing. Like they're like people were like claiming they're psychics or stuff. It's weird. People claim to saw UFOs and like weird ships flying in and out of the area. And then the other big one is people were claiming that they were trying to figure out a way to open basically portals or holes between dimensions for quicker traveling.
Wow. So this is 100% Stranger Things.
Well, this is one of the things Stranger Things is based on.
Okay.
Yeah. Stranger Things, The Mist, the Mist, like that army thing was based on the Montauk Project. So like the Montauk, like it took the 80s by storms, and like there's a lot of people who in the 80s, like this was kind of a big deal in places. Like, well, they're doing weird stuff up there. The army denied it. The military denied it. They're like, there's nothing. No, it's just a pig. Don't worry about it. There's nothing there.
Stop looking at it.
But I want you to remember this. One of the interesting things is somebody claimed that they were trying to figure out a way to use gravity to fly their ships. Remember that.
Okay. So gravitic engines.
Yeah. This is taking place in New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
The same time in the late 80s and early 90s, let's travel to Southwest, the little place called Area 51.
Wah, 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 wah.
A whistleblower comes out named Bob Lazar. And he's talking about how like he was employed by the military to study UFOs that they captured. They used gravity engines. They were trying to get them to reverse build it. He claimed he saw aliens. He claimed that there was an element that they had that didn't exist on the periodic table yet. And he went around the news and stuff. He claimed the military was following him and threatening him, that they were like removing records about him, making him appear like he wasn't real. All this weird stuff. He was kind of a hot thing for a minute, and then he just kind of fizzled. People were like, he's crazy. Military doesn't say UFOs are real. Whatever. You know, he's nuts.
Why would the military lie to us? Come on.
They have no reason to lie to us, Dave.
Exactly.
Now let's fast forward to right before to the early 2000s, right? We get in CERN.
The time of Eli.
The time of Eli we've come. CERN creates the Hadron Super Collider. They basically take atomic particles and they shoot them at opposite ends like of a tube at high speeds, so they smash into each other. One, because they want to see what subatomic particles made up atoms. Two, they were trying to see if they could create dark matter, which was theorized by like Einstein and other physicists. Right. And then that's when you get like the Higgs and boson particle, and they're like, well, this thing can be anything. It's weird. And then they're talking about this entity that like they don't really know what the force is, but it's like manipulating stuff, like all this weird stuff. And then of course they're like, yeah, there's like a 0.001% chance we can make a black hole and destroy Earth, whatever. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Don't worry about it.
But we're pretty sure that won't happen.
We're pretty sure it won't happen. Don't worry about it. So then that happens. People were nervous, but we didn't get eaten by a black hole, and so the world moved on. During the early stages of the pandemic, an article comes out in the New York Times, basically with these whistleblowers in the military about UFOs and stuff the military is doing. Right? We all know. I've talked about this for the whole time we've been doing this podcast. And then the military comes out and goes, all right, there are UFOs. We don't have any. We don't know what they are, but we'll do some hearings and kind of tell you what we know.
We know they exist.
Yeah, like we don't know what's going on, right? Then all of a sudden, Bob Lazar comes out of the woodwork again with some other people, and they're like, wait a minute. He talked about this, saying that the military has always known there's been UFOs. They're like, remember that element he talked about? Boom, that's an element now. It got released. Like, that's an element. People forgot about that. It's a proven element. They're like, he was talking about all this stuff. He was talking about all these things. And people were like, oh, that's okay. That's weird. That's interesting. And then they're like, potentially they're using like dark matter gravity as an engine, they think, at this hearing. People are like, whoa, wait, what? Why is all this gravity engine stuff keeps coming up? It's weird. These hearings, Bob Lazar is like, now I mean, like, see, I told you fuckers. I fucking told you. Doesn't matter. Then CERN comes out, goes, there's some like weird stuff with these particles. We think we need to make them go faster. So, because potentially, like, we can use it for like more dark matter or potentially unlock gravity engines. That word keeps coming up. Using gravity as propulsion system. So, like, we're going to build a bigger one. And yeah, it increases the black hole chance by like a little bit, but don't worry about it. It's fine. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
So is that the same logic that a kid would use if they had a hammer and they started hitting a bomb and it started ticking, and their solution to that is hit it harder with a bigger hammer?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Perfect.
They're like, yeah, there's this entity thing. We call it the entity. We call it like a ghost, but it's probably just a force. Like we think if we make it faster, make the explosions bigger, we might actually see what it is. Which that doesn't seem terrible. Like terrible idea at all. Like they're doing that. So like that's happening, right? Then we get to current times, not even a month ago, a physicist came out and said, with the help of AI, he figured out the math to create a gravity engine. He's like, we don't have the stuff to build it yet, but I know the math how to do it.
The physics works.
Physics work. What do you say about that? So people now are looking back at this. It's been kind of come up news about this Philadelphia experiment. They're like, they were talking about gravity propulsion then. And then they were talking about the Montauk, which they said wasn't real. Now all this other stuff happened. What do you think about all that information, Dave?
I think I've always been extremely fascinated by this side of physics, and I'm not smart enough to get a lot of it. But, understanding that when they talk about gravity engines in this case, my understanding is they're not talking about the force that sticks you to the earth. They're talking about the force that keeps atoms attracted to one another. That level of gravity, like the molecular energy that we don't fully understand at all of how gravity works. And that's how you get to anti-gravity, just like you get matter, which we understand. And mathematically, if there's matter, there has to be antimatter.
Right.
So there has to be a equal and opposite force of gravity in that equation. And again, that's about where my ceiling is on a lot of that stuff. But the math has always worked, and that intrigues me.
Mm-hmm. Well, so basically, according to Bob Lazar, like what a gravity engine does is it basically the engine manipulates the gravitational field between particles around the ship. So the wave propelled is it's actually folding. Once again, not a physics major either, but it's like folding space. So that's how they move so quickly, move so fast, because they're not actually moving, they're moving the space around it.
Yeah. They're not moving, they're just pushing the universe around their What could possibly go wrong?
Listen, reason I brought this up within Horizon, right, is like they're like, oh, we went through this hell area or whatever, like you were like whatever you want to call it, and like all this shit happened. I think, it seems like we've been fucking with this shit for a long time, and we understand little to nothing about it. Little to nothing about it. And we're just like, oh, fuck it, we'll just keep doing stuff. What's the worst that could happen? What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah.
Because here's now where it gets real weird, right? Because think about this. I think we all can agree, you and me, everybody listening, if you would have told me 10 years ago that this is what modern times were going to be like, I'd be like, it's out. You're out of your fucking mind. There's
what
no
have
way.
You been smoking?
Right? So there are conspiracies that all this is connected. This is all about, all these things are connected about trying to figure out how to manipulate space and time, because time and space are locked together.
Mm-hmm.
And they argue that with all these projects we've been doing and experience we've been doing, we've been kind of like fucking around. So I don't understand what we're doing. And then we get to CERN. And they're like doing all this shit, trying to break down stuff so they can understand space.
Yeah. We found a really interesting bomb, and then we finally started hitting it with a hammer.
Yeah. And people are arguing is, what happens if from all this other shit we've done, and then like we're like accelerating at a rate faster than what we understand? What if when CERN first started firing off the accelerator, what if they're collapsing dimensions or alternate realities on top of each other, which is why we have all this weird shit going on now?
Yeah,
So
I mean, it makes perfect sense to me. I
so
mean,
yeah.
Dr. Ware in Event Horizon, and it's still one of my favorite illustrations. I don't know if he was the first to do it. It's the one that's most memorable to me, but his whole folded paper,
Yep.
this is space time. We're cheating the system by doing a short back by folding it over on itself. But when you stick the pen through the paper, some of that paper on one side is going to end up on that other side.
Yep. Which is kind of where we're at
where
now.
we live.
Yeah. Like it's so I bring this up to you because a couple things. At this point now, where we sit in current times, and all these things over the years we've been told didn't happen, and now all this shit's like starting to add up. Is there any conspiracy theory we shouldn't believe besides the Earth is flat? That's a stupid one, and that birds aren't real. That's stupid too. But I mean, like this stuff, like old school conspiracy that people said wasn't real. So we need to take a second look at it.
Or give you a conversation starter on this. Maybe the reason that we're here now and that there hasn't been all this investigation and experimentation on all of these weird things that were done in the past is because those things were never done until we folded space at CERN. Now they exist back then because they're part of that new timeline. We don't have any experience with them. So now we're seeing them as investigations. What if the Philadelphia experiment didn't happen until we folded CERN?
Wait, you're getting in some deep conspiracy shit. I don't even know if you know it. So your argument or your idea you're presenting is that we basically turn conspiracy real because of the shit we're fucking with.
Yeah.
And it was probably real in another space and time.
On New Earth. If we're old Earth,
right,
we have all of this new folklore and legacy that we have no point of reference for that now seems very strange because it is transfer staying from a space-time fold.
It's interesting you bring that up because there are some people who argue that when you get into this shit or the way realities keep being created is because of the thought energy put out by people. So like, for example, right? We'll say Bigfoot. Everybody says there's Bigfoot. Well, if enough people are like putting that in the zeitgeist, that then creates a reality on another branch of the universe where there is a Bigfoot.
A new Mandela.
A new Mandela. Like that is. So that's what you're arguing. Which that's I don't even did you know about like that the whole like they call it like the psychic I forget the other name for it, but like basically like that's it's like they call it psychic, but it's like no, but it's just like we kind of because like it's like it's the same thing where like scientists argue a string theory where like all the strings are like you go to a four-way intersection, and because you're at a four-way intersection, you create one string where you go right, one where you went straight, one where you went left.
Yeah.
And like that's how these strings keep that they all exist.
Yeah. It's Schrodinger's cat.
Yep. Yes. And then there are people that argue that even just putting stuff in the zeitgeist also creates strings. And that was that if I understand you correctly, that's kind of your thought.
Yeah, except our strings got knotted when we started bashing submolecular reality with this equipment we've got. So now it's not just theoretical and the math making this new universe. We actually smashed into that universe.
And so that was just on the small scale. What happens when they go to that big son bitch?
Yeah.
How big? I think like
it's like 4 or 5 times the size.
Yeah. 200 ladder. I gotta look it up and see what the size it is.
And you know, a physicist literally got sucked into or disappeared through a pathway black hole that had opened.
I if there's not a point where we don't find out like the number of people who got hurt, died, or disappeared during this, I'll be surprised. Dave, the new one, they're going from like something like the current one is 16 miles long, like in a circle. The new one, they're going from 16.8 miles to 56.5 miles.
Yeah. Yeah, almost 4 times exactly. It's a monster. And it's like billions, if not trillions of dollars. Because it's all got to be like much deeper into the earth and much bigger tunnels.
They are estimating that it's going to cost $22 billion to build.
And take what, like 10 years or something like that?
It will be ready by the first stage, or they're going to start building in 2035. The first stage of operation, so the first operational test, make sure it works, is 2045. The second stage will be 2055. And then the fully operational, where they'll be running these experiments daily, will be 2070.
Well, my advice to you, Eli, because I'll be long dead. You won't be far behind me.
Is die before then.
Is drink all of the friggin' Mountain Dew you want to, my guy. Double down.
Double fist the Mountain Dew.
Yeah.
It's nuts. Like because it's just like, it's crazy. Because like I was talking to somebody the other day, we were kind of talking about this, and I was like, they think we've like with this collider or because of all these experiments we've done trying to bend time and space, which might explain why all of a sudden like the UFO things have all increased, because like they see that we can do it and they're like, oh, holy shit, like, okay. And like now they're coming around because they're like, oh, it's a fucking truck stop or something, or like, hey, how do these monkeys figure this out? I said like they're thinking like we're because we keep doing this, we're like basically smashing these timelines together. I said like, you think about like, did you ever think in your lifetime, not only would AI become sentient, which they are arguing is happening now, the military not only admits to like stuff for the last like couple years, like they're like, okay, yeah, MK Ultra is real, but it wasn't as bad as you thought. Or like, yeah, like the Freedom of Information Act, some of the stuff from the CIA, like some of their like the plans people said they've tried to do, they're like, well, yeah, we tried in another country, but it's not as bad as you thought. And then they're like, yeah, UFOs are real, but like we don't know. Wink.
They're not what you think they are. That's what they keep telling us, which is even more upsetting. Like, you're calling them UFOs. They're not really that, but we can't tell you what they are.
Yeah. And then you're like, well, what does that mean? You're like, they're like either, oh, I don't know, or like, we don't know either. And then like shit's unthawing from the ice. They're finding oceans under the ocean. Like all this shit, like you would figure like one thing, right? Like one thing.
Yeah.
We have all the things.
In the last 4 years.
In the last 4 years. All of them. They're like, yeah, we found prehistoric plants still growing because the ice is all melting. Nah, whatever. Yeah, there's this the biggest virus we've ever seen. We don't know what it does. Yeah, some guy injected himself. Yeah, we haven't heard from him in a year. Like, I don't know. Yeah, whatever.
And I know you grew up in a rural area like I did. And even we knew that you don't build your house under the high tension electrical lines because of the electromagnetic fields. Like it literally screws with your brain. Like your cognition, your mental health, your perception of the world around you.
Right.
I mean, that's why they put like trailer parks and stuff in those areas, lower income areas. But now I'm starting to feel like we've all been living under the high tension lines for the last 4 years.
Well, like it's even crazy because like, so like with the Philadelphia project, when they because that's the other thing too, I forgot to mention. So right, so like these reporters went back and they're like, well, we're finding people who said they got sick on that ship and weird stuff happens, and they're like, well, I mean, yeah, there could be side effects from that the magnetism, like I guess theoretically there could be, but like they're like, we don't have any instance of it. And they're like
a little bit.
They're like, well, we're finding people. Like, you want to talk to them? No. Nah, they didn't.
We already did. I mean, no.
No. Nah, don't worry about it. It's all fine.
Yeah, stop asking questions.
It's I don't know. It's crazy.
Wouldn't you rather have the new iPhone?
Yeah. Hey, new season of the Kardashians out. What are them Kardashians gonna get to this week, huh?
Those wacky gals.
Hey, did you hear Mexico found an alien?
Huh?
Oh, it's crazy. Like I said, if you look at old school, but then what's real fucked up, right? Is all these old school, like, that's where I got my beginning. Like, I don't consider myself a conspiracy theorist. I dabble.
You cut your teeth a little bit.
I dabble, just I get in the kiddie pool to flop around for a little bit. But like all these old school conspiracy theories that I knew that kind of like got me like interesting, like most of them turned out to be right. But because of how crazy things are, they're now thinking none of that was right. And they're like making up crazier shit.
They're just mad.
Yeah. They're just like making up crazier shit now. They're like, aliens aren't real. They're making it up. And I'm like, but you thought that they admitted. Oh, since they admitted it's not real.
It's obviously not real if they're going to talk about it.
Yeah, it's not real. Real. You talking like someone talking about sub-Earth. It's like, oh, they found oceans under the ocean. No, they didn't. Like, it's not real. They told us.
That's a movie. That's Meg. Come on.
Don't worry about it. It's not real. So now, like, you can't believe the government, obviously, and any of those people. Now you can't even trust conspiracy theorists because they're all fucking turned around. Who can you trust, Dave? That's all I want to know. Who can you trust now?
I'm just saying, maybe 5 years ago, none of this existed at all.
That's a mind fuck. Like, one day, like 5 years ago, I wasn't me.
Yeah.
And then I woke up to me, which means tomorrow I might wake up and not be me, but be me.
Yeah. You might be the literal mole king.
I could be a mole.
Exactly.
It's crazy. It's nuts.
Yeah, physics at this level is pretty wacky.
Oh, well, yeah, because that's like 2 weeks ago, they're like, oh, black holes, we thought they were like destruction. Then it was like, well, we actually think it could be travel between. Now they're like, it's actually holding the universe together.
Yeah.
And it's like, what does that mean? It's sucking everything in. Yeah, it's holding it together.
Doesn't it just consume? It. We don't think so.
No. So like the math proves it. Don't know what to tell you. AI helped us.
Yeah. When you put a new like multi-billion-dollar satellite into space or telescope into space, and within months it's showing you, yeah, there's life on other planets. Here's the pictures. Oh, by the way, here's a perfectly formed question mark in the middle of the universe, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, which is weird. And then like this week, actually, they're like the Mars rover found all these weird sulfur crystals, fields of them. And they're like, that theoretically should only happen near volcanoes, not that shape. They're like, oh, so was that an old volcano? No. What is it? Don't know. What does that mean? I don't know. There's weird like sulfur eggs all over.
It's just Mars. Data at this point.
Don't know, Dave. Don't know, Dave.
Monkeys with guns. That's what's going to save us here.
Oh man! So, all right, Dave. Is that the horse you're betting on? Then all this shit that's happened in the world, is that the end you're hoping for?
Monkeys with guns. No, I think I subscribe to the Mars was the Mother Earth theory. Like, that's where we actually started. We made it this far, and now we're about to mess up this planet and either obliterate our reality or bounce ourselves to somewhere else to start all over again.
You are like you're nipples deep, my guy. You don't even know.
Eyes are up here, Eli. Eyes are up here.
Also a theory that humans as we know it end every couple 100,000 years, and then we start over again. Because like they
Is that
found
with
that
the pole reversal?
no, they don't even know if it's a pole reversal. They just think an event happens. It normally we cause it, but they're like they think like the last great they like the theory now some people have is like they think Egyptians were actually far more advanced than we even understand, and then shit turned sideways. We started over again.
Yeah. Yeah. Look at the Eye of the Sahara. I mean,
Yeah.
that is Atlantis. By every description Socrates and everybody gave us who said, quote unquote, they had been there, it matches. Now it just happens to be several hundred miles inland.
Yeah. And then they finally figured out that fucking what they thought was like, is this an old computer? And they're like, well, kind of. They're like, it perfectly mapped out the solar system. How did they know that?
Thousands of years before we knew it existed. Yeah.
But like, we don't know. And some guy built it. Like they kind of got all clear. They built it. They're like, yeah, this just tracks it 100%.
Don't know what to tell you.
People are like, well, how would they do that? How did they build the pyramids? Yeah. How did they build the pyramids?
I'm just ready for the reboot. I am. I mean, honestly, even if it means my obliteration, let's hit the reboot on this bad boy.
Yeah, it's almost getting that. You know what life's starting to feel like now? You ever play Skyrim?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's feeling like the point where you got so many side quests started and you don't remember what the real quest is, and you're so
we're
confused.
in the grind section. Yeah.
Like, like you walk into town and like a vampire runs up to you, goes, "Hey, don't forget about the Brotherhood." And you're like, "What?" And then like a frog person runs up, they're like, "Hey, did you remember those robots that were taking over a swamp?" You're like, "What?" Then like a guy comes over and goes, "Hey, it's the Jarl of Winterfell. Like, don't forget about the dragons." You're like, "Who?"
Yeah, we're too weak to take on the dragons, but we're high enough level that we can't just go wander anymore. We're like responsible for stuff.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know what to do anymore. It's like, I don't even know.
I just wanted to stop.
But did you ever think that Event Horizon could be our life?
Tell you what, still one of the coolest ships in science fiction history.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
I mean, and literally the whole magnetic field theory of that, like the buzzsaw tunnel and all of, and that spiky room, you just get a sense that nothing in there is safe. Like it is, everything in the ship is here to kill you.
It's like,
I love it.
It's like a 1920s factory.
Yeah.
Like it's
tetanus is on everything.
There's a chance you'll lose a finger just turning on a sink.
Exactly. Like, you sneeze wrong, it's going to take off a limb.
You take a poop, you're taking your life in your own hands.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I love that ship.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. I'm going to say something controversial. Like it better than the ship in Alien.
Okay.
Only reason I say that is for such a large ship and what they were doing, why did they make such small hallways and tunnels?
And why is everything so wet in space?
Yeah, and why is it dark? Why isn't there like could they not afford light bulbs to put in it? It was always so dark in there. Like I remember like even like they're in the medical bay, there's one light. And it's like, what if they have to do surgery? It might as well be like the fucking 1800s with a candle.
Yeah. And as much as everybody was smoking in there, it reeks. Like there is no way to get away from that smell. Also, everything has a yellow film on it. That
doesn't seem like a good idea either. No. Smoking in space, when you got pure oxygen pouring into your, I don't know. You're having me question the logistics of Alien now. It's almost like those people that like when they talk about Star Wars and they're like, was Luke Skywalker a good guy? Because like there's probably just regular workers on the Death Star. And he just fucking blew it up. Like they didn't rescue anybody or like
exactly.
Like there's some like fuck who's just like responsible for like doing everybody's laundry. And he's like, I didn't want to be here.
Yeah. What did I do?
And he's like, I'm not a Sith. I do laundry. I was like from that sand planet living my shitty sand life. And then they kidnapped me, made me do laundry. And now
your department of accountants in there.
Yeah.
They're just working the construction project.
Yeah. You got cooks. They're just like, we just make the food capsules for people. Like, what did we do?
Guess we got to blow up with everybody else. Huh?
Yeah. Great. Thank God Luke Skywalker saved us. Thanks, Luke Skywalker. All right, Dave, before we wrap up, I got one more question for you.
Okay.
So all this stuff's happening. Apparently, appears because we're trying to figure out how to control gravity to fold time and space without actually understanding what that means.
The paper is all we really understand.
And I don't even know if we understand that.
Because I have yet to see somebody use the paper illustration that puts the freaking hole back together. Nobody does that, do they?
No, never. Never. We don't even know when people fly it. Like, if it puts it back together, we don't even know. We're just like, fuck it, we want to do that.
Let's just punch some holes, see what happens.
What's the worst thing that can happen? Well, it can't hurt. You know what I mean? I'm sure it'll just seal itself back up.
Yeah.
Seal itself back up.
Rub a little Neosporin on that bad boy.
Yeah. Oh, wait, there was a Marvel comic storyline where, like, literally the dimensions faltered because they tore too many holes in it. Those are comic book kids.
Yeah, come on, man.
Yeah, Terminator's coming real. Don't worry about it. Okay? Aliens are coming. Don't worry about it. All right? Journey to the center of the earth. Don't worry about it.
It's not like every single sci-fi interdimensional time travel story that we've created on this planet all ends the exact same way.
Even Einstein was like, I don't know how much of this we should fuck with. He was notorious for like looking at something and going, this is a bad idea.
Yeah, this does not end well.
I don't know about this. And we're like, fuck it, just do it. What's the worst that could happen? But
come on, Al.
I have to ask you.
Okay.
In your hopes and dreams, with everything it is now, right? I feel like nothing's like all limits are off the table. Like it doesn't even matter anymore. We're too far gone to turn this ship around. If we're gonna collide with another universe and our new reality becomes what it is, what do you hope for? What reality would you like to? Because theoretically, swish. If you go with like these theories of like we're actually creating the reality we go, that means every movie, comic book, all of it, we've made real,
created a new reality. Yeah. So are you saying another reality that merges with ours to where they both exist, or one where I bounce from this one to another?
They both exist.
Okay. Well, it's going to be. I almost had an answer and then I changed my mind.
The possibilities are
I mentioned before Lord of the Rings.
Oh man.
But I don't want to ruin Lord of the Rings, to be honest with you. I don't want it to be mixed in with
that's true. We don't want garbage AI like Sauron becomes the AI overlord.
Exactly. I don't
on the One Rings a flash drive.
Bringing that up.
Yeah.
Honestly, let's go full Blade Runner. Let's get some replicants in here. We're well on our way.
So you want to make
we have a sense of where that's headed anyway.
So you want to make it now where like not only is like no one can get together because we question everything. Now we want to start questioning everyone.
Exactly.
Well, the person just you will go straight in.
Yeah. We're just going to skip a couple of steps. It's where we're headed anyway.
All right, fair enough.
It's not like I'm making some like to the point of Lord of the Rings or Game of Thrones or something where I'm making some huge redirection of our reality. This is where we're going to end up. I'm just going to get there a little quicker.
I mean, have you seen some of those robots and like they're working on their facial expressions?
Yeah.
You're not wrong.
And Eli, you know what? The conversation we had earlier about all the things that have happened in the last 4 years is because I just made that statement of that's the reality that we're going to head towards.
So then you made it reality. Well, then I'm going to say mine.
Quickly.
My reality. I'm going Highlander.
Okay, there can only be one.
There can only be one Eli. So then I have a sword. I'm not going to fight people.
It's not the dragon sword.
No, it's not the dragon sword. I'm also not going to fight people with guns because that just seems silly. But I'm gonna fight the other Elis so that there's only ever one Eli. I'm the only Eli.
Well, if you ever get the sense that you have officially transitioned over to becoming an immortal, let me know and I'll help you test that.
You know, I feel that even if I speak into reality
for the good of your journey, I think that's something
I don't know if I ever want to test that theory. I don't care if another Eli walks in here while we're recording this and you see me fighting with a sword. I slay him lightning comes
Take his
down,
head off, yeah.
take his head off, lightning strikes my sword, and I do the and then like I get up stronger, faster.
You don't want me to hit you with a bat?
I still don't want you to test that theory. I don't care if I'm peeing lightning. Don't test that theory, because I feel
Just
like if you can pee lightning, yeah. Well, let's just assume that there's going to be one, and that's me, and like we'll just assume that. Like let's just be safe with it.
I don't know. That's shoddy science work, man. I think we have to do some experimentation.
How about this? Right? If this becomes reality, like arguably, theoretically, it should, because
it just
brought
did.
It up. It became reality. And if I fight me, lightning, mortal, sword, and you'll know it's the real me because I'm using Andril Flame of the West. So that's how you know it's the right version of me. Because in like other realities,
now the other dimension, Eli knows that.
But see, I feel like
spoke it into.
I feel like, but see, I can break the system, because then I can be like, other dimension Eli like Skyrim, so he's gonna carry a stupid Skyrim sword. The other Eli like Zelda, so he has the Master Sword. See, like,
now, see, you've given away your game. The only way now, Eli, for you to keep your sword safe for when this apocalypse or this war for the one happens, is you need to hand it off to a sword brother, Jeff. You need to let him care for your sword.
But then how am I going to defend myself against the other Elis?
You're signed to Jeff that it is time for him to relinquish the weapon, the sacred weapon, back into your care, so you can finish your quest. As you would,
if you're about to say a Mothman pancake
with Mothman pancakes,
that's fucking it. Well, no, actually, Dave, here, I'm going to take care of this problem. In another reality, I did give him Mothman pancakes. Now it happened.
Okay. So he has no need for your sword anymore.
No, he doesn't have any need for it.
Congratulations.
I got my sword back.
I'll check in with him next time I talk to him.
But you see, you can't ask him. You have to ask the other reality.
The other Jeff.
Because we didn't specify which reality Jeff I had to give the pancakes to.
All I know is I'm sure glad we don't have the keys to CERN right now.
Could you imagine you and I going in there and be like, listen, we're going to do some experiments. I'm like, I put out my sword. I'm like, I want you to clash into my sword. Give it the power. You know?
We start throwing stuff in there to see what we can microwave. Throwing popcorn bags in there.
Getting like some 7-Eleven taquitos. They're frozen. Let's see what happens.
But in another reality, they're perfectly cooked.
Well, hold on. If we do this, Dave, and we start cooking stuff with the hydrogen, are you going to eat it?
Of course.
Man, I don't know. I feel like I look at it.
This popcorn tastes like entity.
Or like you just open your mouth and it floats in there.
Exactly.
Which, honestly,
we throw a load of laundry in there just to see what happens.
Yeah. A Chevy Corolla. Yeah. Or not a Chevy Corolla, a Toyota Corolla. Yeah. But now there is a Chevy Corolla because I brought it into the universe. Like put cars, couches, some of that gack kids like to play with, slime or whatever it is. Yeah.
We know how to get stuff done. That's all.
I feel like they would let us be in there for 2 experiments. They'd like, get the fuck out.
And put your pants back on.
Yeah. Why are both you not wearing pants? Like, what happens if it goes through my pant leg, out Dave's pant leg?
Why are you all greased up?
Yeah, I'm like, that's just if a portal shows up.
That's just science, dude. You should know.
They're like, what are you talking about? I'm like, we all know about the portal. Like,
come on, Wink. You don't have to play with me.
We all know. Come on, guy. Like, come on, guy. Oh, actually, apparently, one last thing though, because you brought that up, the grease portals. Apparently, there is supposed to be a new report coming out of Skinwalker Ranch, because they apparently brought in some third parties and they have some evidence this time.
Ooh.
And also, I guess the people that went there never want to go back because they all claim they brought something home with them.
Uh-oh.
Now, when I hear that, I think of one of 2 things. Some type of entity or an STD.
Or both.
Or both. STD from an entity.
I was going to say extraterrestrial STD. That's
Space
not
herpes.
great.
Space herpes. You know? Oh, man. All right, Dave. Let's tell the fine folks about the Wicked Wild.
Oh, Lordy. Well, thanks for joining us for a one-on-one session of Campfire Tales. I've had a hoot. Thank you, Eli. If you want to learn more about us, you can go to our website, thewickedwild.com. You can go to our social media. We're on X at Wicked Wild We Are, Instagram at Wicked Wild Pod, or Slasher, the horror only community, at Wicked Wild We Are as well. And I think that's it. Yeah, we're on YouTube. You can, if you need the video, you can get to see scantily clad Suns Out, Guns Out Eli tonight.
I'm in my Jerry Springer era, I think.
That's
Jerry
it.
Springer. Yeah. Well, hey, for you folks that's hung in there, like Dave and I put a lot out there. We talked about some heavy shit, but on a closing note, remember this: because of what I'm going to start calling the Dave and Eli theory, or I don't know, let's think of a good name for it. The unified theory of wieners, because I feel like we just have to, or something. I don't know. We'll think about it. Theoretically, now, corncob bird feeders were a thing, and now you all have one hanging outside of your house in a different reality, which means in this reality, you also have a corncob bird feeder,
and it only attracts killdeer.
That's an apocalypse. Great job, Dave. Now you just ended the world. All right. Well, I hope you're happy, everyone. We all know how the world ends. Not in a whimper, but in the most dangerous bird to ever live. Bye.